All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Canadian Invitational here at the Scotiabank Theatre in Toronto, Ontario. That's Canada for you Americans, once again. I'm Daniel Degon Gonzalez, and with me is Bill Jump Carter for this Collegiate Star League production. We have our second set of matches to see who's going to go to the grand finals against University of British Columbia. We have University of Toronto against Simon Fraser University.
And I had to go out and kind of get an oxygen mask to kind of like just slow my heartbeat from those last two matches because UBC came out in stunning fashion. It started off as just a powerhouse game one, and then they come in. KT Smart finishes 15-3-6, an unbelievable stat line to start the matchup. And when we come into this match, much more hyped up. You've got the West leader in Simon Fraser University, as well as the East Division leader in University of Toronto. This is definitely going to be a powerful best of three.
Out of all the colleges that entered in the North American bracket, these are the two teams that made it through the slugfest. University of Toronto winning their group, making it all the way to, of course, the finals and taking that one. On the opposite side, Simon Fraser University, always one of the powerhouses in Canada, and finally toppling the old winner of the ULaw Campus Series, University of British Columbia, who wait in the finals themselves. It's going to be a great matchup here in our second set.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what these two teams are going to do differently with the midseason patch. We saw the Cassinan pop up.
Yes.
That was definitely an interesting aspect. We saw the Sejuani as well come up into the jungle and really have an impact. Granted, there were a lot of kind of missing pieces of the puzzle that Ryerson didn't really bring to the table, but they still were able to execute on that Sejuani when they had those combined efforts. And so I want to see if that's going to be something of contention or if either one of these teams are going to bring something crazy off the mark.
And I really like the fact that we saw unconventional picks coming out of Ryerson. They did pull out the Karma. They did pull out Vigar in the mid lane. Didn't quite work out, and they did a great job of stalling. They did a great job of stalling that last game, continually not winning fights, but not losing fights and not letting UBC just take that one a hold just like they did in the first game.
Yeah, and so now that we're getting into this, again, these are best of threes. So we have to remind ourselves that if you come off and you do something crazy in game one, if it works out, awesome, you're up a game ahead. But if you lose because of that, then now your back's up against the wall. And knowing Toronto and knowing their coaching staff as ones that are always trying to do their best to stay up top on front of the meta, I really expect to see them potentially pulling up something crazy and really trying to just throw SFU for a loop.
Throw them for a loop. Indeed, these two teams will be playing here again next weekend in the University League of Legends Campus Series finals in Santa Monica. That's the big one with the big prize money, the slugfest themselves that got them the ranking that they have right now, best in the East and best in the West, not just in Canada, but all of North America. And you guys are all in for a treat. We're having the teams go ahead and get into the lobby right now, but after we take a very short break, we're going to go ahead and get into game one of Simon Fraser University against the hometown team, University of Toronto. Don't touch that browser. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Scotiabank Theater here by Cineplex in Toronto for the CSL Canadian Invitational. I am Daniel Digon Gonzalez. With me is Bill Jump Carter. We have our two teams ready to go. The lobby is finally being made, and we're going to get into game one between SFU and University of Toronto.
Champ Select has started, and Simon Fraser University wants to say that, hey, we're the best in the West. University of Toronto wants to say, hey, we're the best in the East, but it's not about North America. It's just about Canada right now as we start things off strong.
Yeah, we do have two very, very strong teams. Obviously, they've plowed their way through the collegiate scene, and now here we do have them in the first matchup of the second set. As we go ahead and get into picks and bans, it's going to be that Syndra taken away. We got to see how long Ryerson's mid laner, Light Turtle, was able to stall out the game with the Syndra. That's going to get taken away.
But something that you have to consider as well is this is a new set, this is a new series. The junglers are defining the pick bans right now. You can see the Ivern being taken off right off the bat.
Oh, yeah, jungle karma.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of a thing. You've got the karma as well. And so now this is an interesting piece because, like we said in the last series, when you ban away that karma very early, that puts the pressure on the red side to potentially ban away that Lulu, because if not, it is going to first pick. But, ooh, the special Jeesh gets banned away. That's a Talon off the table.
Yeah, Talon is one of the mid lane assassins normally in the hands of Jeesh. Used to be known for his Zed. Now, a lot of talent being played. That gets taken away in the picks and bans by SFU.
Yeah, and so now the decision is being made here by the side of University of Toronto of what do they want to go in. They go with an Ezreal, so definitely a target ban there onto Nemanic. They don't want to get that into his hands. They don't want to have to worry about it. But here's where the decision gets difficult for the side of SFU. Do they decide to ban away that Lulu and force a first round jungle pick? They do decide to do that, and now this is where University of Toronto can essentially define the direction. But wow, they prioritize that Caitlyn for their first pick.
Not an Ashe.
No?
Not a Varus. Not a jungler. It's going to be the hyper carry, long range distance carry. It's going to be Caitlyn. We did get to see that earlier. Really suck the life out of the side of Ryerson in the hands of UBC and their AD carry. And so hopefully that's what Aries going to be trying to do here for University of Toronto. On the opposite side, there it is. Kha'Zix, the jungler, is taken first with Nami getting taken away as well.
I really like this decision for JJL to take away that Nami from JJ on the side.
That's going to be
from
fun.
JJ on the side of University of Toronto, because we know what the Caitlyn Nami combination provides. We know the power that it brings to the bot lane, and so taking that away while also securing a very aggressive, very powerful jungler in the Kha'Zix is definitely a setup for them to consider. But now the 2-3 picks on the side, Susis and Jeesh, trying to figure out what they're going to have. They can decide to round out with that second support. They can also decide to pick themselves up a jungler and kind of hide their hand, but instead they decide to go for that Renekton in the top lane, trying to take advantage of that Death Dance change that you had in the mid-season patch.
Yep, Death Dance providing some damage reduction. 30% of the damage that you take is going to be converted into bleed damage, so bursting not really viable for a user of Death's Dance. That item kind of OP, pretty cool. Everyone's using that one. And Elise being taken here by Susis. Susis talked earlier about how he liked the pick style that comes out of Elise, having the cocoon in the kit, and early magic pen in the kit of Elise, really going to be useful for him. On the opposite side, though, it's going to be Gragas and Varus, and we might be having our first look at Xayah in a new mid-season patch.
Okay, we've already got a Caitlyn picked.
Okay.
So if Xayah gets picked up, that would be a Xayah in the mid lane. And the real question becomes, why the hell is there a Xayah in the mid lane? Now, potentially, you do have the Caitlyn. We have seen Caitlyn mid from time to time as a very, very off-meta pick. But I don't see that being a pickup for them here. I think that's just kind of a troll hover there by Airy. He's going to kind of just like sit and chill onto something like that. You do have the support as well as the mid lane picks up left to decide. I think looking at the setup that they have, I wouldn't be surprised if you see more of a control mid laner coming out of Jeesh. That it's definitely something that would fit in this composition a little bit better, because not only can you have the pickup for that, that's exactly what I was going to be expecting, something like an Orianna, something of that effect. Orianna gets picked up, that helps with the follow-up and the engage that an Elise and a Renekton can have, but a Thresh, something that we haven't seen as of late in a lot of the meta picks in the support position.
You know, and that's why you're the analyst, because I was just, I'm calling what I see. I call what I see. I see a Xayah, get excited. Forget you, Twitch chat. That's all right. That's why Bill's here. It will be an Orianna and Thresh being locked in, and JJ's Thresh out of most of the games that we've cast probably like 5 or 6 games at University of Toronto. JJ's Thresh is one of the staples here for University of Toronto.
Yeah.
And on the opposite side, we're waiting to see what the final pick will be.
It is, so they have a potential to go for something different. We have seen Varus in the mid lane. That is a potential. I would expect that obviously to be more at the 80 carry. So I think they're kind of just going back and forth and deciding how they're going to have it. And there it is. That's going to be the LeBlanc.
LeBlanc.
Picked up into the mid side. So
We're
that's
gonna
going to
use
be
the LeBlanc.
Demnis going to be really trying to capitalize on that power that LeBlanc can pull to the table. And just looking at these compositions, this is definitely a difference from what you see of University of Toronto hard studying 7.9 and seeing, hey, what kind of different things can we pull up? A Renekton in the top lane, I think, is a big sense of that with the changes to Death Dance. And then on the side here for SFU, it's, you know what? We know what 7.8 was. We know what was meta. We know what worked. We know what we've seen in MSI. Let's just stay comfortable. Let's stay consistent. Let's worry about the changes later, and let's go with what we know.
And again, I like this draft out of SFU because, again, like we said, they're going to play again in 1 week for all the marbles of the ULaw Campus Series. They don't want to show too much. And because, as you said, this is a 7.8 patch type champion composition with Gragas, with Kha'Zix, with LeBlanc, Varus, and Nami, they're not showing their hand too often.
No, they're really not. And so when I look at the matchup, when I look at what I see from both of these teams, I see University of Toronto making sure that they can prioritize getting out of the early game and putting themselves in the mid game. We talked to them and we said, if you could rank your early, mid, and your late game of where you're the strongest, they said, you know what, our late game is the strongest, but we're getting better at the mid game. And this composition reflects their desire to execute in the mid game because Elise, Caitlyn, Orianna, and Renekton all are very powerful in the mid lane, assuming that they're even, assuming that they have the items that they need and they're not falling behind. But they could create enormous opportunities for pick potential because you've got all this chain CC, all of this follow-up that you can have that could really create a disaster and a perfect snowball for them against FSU.
And one of the positions to make sure that they don't fall behind, I believe, is the top lane Renekton. How could it not be? So expect to watch a lot of fighting by Susis and Gaogai on the top side of the map against Goldjet and Frozen Knight. And also keep in mind, LeBlanc can roam a little bit better than the Orianna.
And you also have that teleport on LeBlanc. So you've got a teleport 2-to-1 advantage in favor of SFU. And so there's a lot of things we have to think about. There's a lot of things that are on the table as we are finishing up our spectator today. We do want to remind you, all of you watching here in the theater as well as watching at home, you've got some hype moments, you've got some feelings you want to portray. Well, tweet at us at hashtag CSLFinal17 because those are definitely some comments that we want to read and see to pop off the mark. But as we do get into the spectator delay, we will be right back with the CSL Canadian Invitational Semifinal number 2. Don't touch that browser.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the CSL Grand Finals in the Scotiabank Theatre in Toronto, Ontario, presented by Cineplex. We have our second set here with, I would consider one of the big matchups. It's going to be University of Toronto against Simon Fraser. We've kind of hit it once, twice, 3 times, but it's number 1 against number 1, East versus West.
East versus West, and this is definitely going to be a barn burner. I don't see this as a match or a set from that we saw in one where you have one team snowballing and the other team kind of falling behind.
Correct.
I think both of these teams are going to be duking it out, and they're going to be going toe-to-toe as accurately and as much as possible. But before we get started, as we get these things loaded up and everybody kind of finds their positions, we do want to go ahead and introduce both of these teams because it is their time to shine. On the side of blue, it's going to be Simon Fraser University.
The side of blue.
The side of blue is going to be, it's University of Toronto. University of Toronto taking up the side of blue.
The side
it's going to be Galgai in the top lane, Susis in the jungle, Jish in the mid lane, Ari at 80 carry with his support, JJ.
And on the red side, it's going to be Simon Fraser University. Goldjet in the top lane, Frozen Knight in the jungle, Demnis in the mid lane, and Pneumatic and Jajil. We'll have fun with that one. At 80 carry and support respectively. They were there beforehand. And so either way, we're going to get ourselves underway. Again, no early invades, a little bit of positioning for vision, but no crazy 5-man strats.
No crazy 5-man strats indeed, but what's going to be defining for a lot of this early game is Susi's going to be able to really control a lot of the early pressure that you can provide as an elite. Yes, you've got a lot of dueling power. Yes, you've got a lot of damage that comes out, but already, look at the level 1 aggression. Jajil and Pneumatic really trying to pop off the mark early and get that early damage. They've got the poke, they've got the range, trying to take advantage of it as much as possible.
Jajil doing a great job of standing in the bush, and what that does is it prevents vision for the minions to auto-attack. Ooh, JJ barely missing that death sentence. And it allowed him to walk past the minion line, and Ari and JJ just take a ton of damage, and that's a very aggressive early trade win by Pneumatic and Jajil.
And I really like this decision, actually, by SFU to push themselves ahead, because that forces at least to make a decision. Because you look at what you have, yes, top lane's being pushed up. That's something that Renekton's going to really try to keep on the mark, because you don't have solid wave clear coming out of Gragas, because he doesn't have enough damage on his barrels to be able to do it quite yet. So you push up in the bot lane, you keep things even in the top, and you force Susis to make a decision. Do we go for something in the mid lane, or do we try to come onto that bot side? And because Frozen Knight started on the top side of the jungle, he can actually be there for the rebuttal and for that kind of counter gank if he needs to.
You know, we do need to touch on it a little bit. Susis is filling in for the normal support, or normal jungler. It's going to be Yummy Bananas. Yummy Bananas not finding this tournament important enough for him to show up at. Actually, no, I'm just kidding. He was on vacation, so he will not be able to make it for this tournament or the ULOL tournament. So Susis has been with the team the whole time and will be filling in.
And look at what you see coming out of Jish. We know that Jish as a mid laner in and of itself defines the statement of aggression. Loves to get ahead, loves to bully out those other members, and even though he's not on somebody like an Ari or a Syndra or even a Talon that can really have that, he still has the shield, he still has the command attack that he can really try to put that pressure onto Demnis, and he's done just that, been able to chunk him down. All 3 procs of that Corrupting Potion is already gone, and so Jish is doing a really good job to make sure that there's no way that Demnis is able to really put the pressure as the hook lands in the bot lane.
Yep, there's the first hook landing. Nami very low, flash away, ignite down. JJ going to put down the Dark Passage, and it's going to be the first blood heading on over to the 6th University of Toronto. Trap game not on point. Jajil able to flash away, and that's the 80 carry down.
Here comes Kazik, though. He wants to try to do something.
I think they know. Ari knows they're going to go ahead and continue forward. Flash forward. JJ going to pick that one up. Help out his 80 carry, and now JJ going to walk this one out 2-1.
2-1. Beautiful setup there. A beautiful even recoverance by Frozen Knight to have something. And although they were able to pick up that kill, it was a great job by Frozen Knight to be able to do it, but they burned the teleport in the mid lane. And so that teleport advantage, that 2-1 that we were used to seeing, isn't going to happen now. They do get the added advantage that Galgai doesn't have his teleport available as well. However, being able to still pick up that kill and get it onto that Kha'Zix, he was able to go back, get an early tracker's knife, as well as that early damage. And now look at what he's doing, roaming onto the top side of the map, potentially seeing if he could go to do something onto Galgai.
You know, and something interesting that I want to go ahead and pay attention to is the fact that what is the cost of a teleport down compared to a barrier up on the opposite side? Jeesh does have barriers, not running teleport, but is Jeesh really going to go ahead and be using barrier within the time frame that the teleport is on cooldown?
No, I think that when you consider the teleport versus the barrier, it's obviously because Jeesh respects the damage that the LeBlanc can pull out. And so because of that, you're going to see these opportunities where you can have that as another hook lands by JJ.
Another hook does land. JJ in a little bit of trouble. Trap game on point. There's the auto attack. One more is going to do it. Airy picking up a second.
A second kill being picked up by Airy, and that's the positioning that they need when it comes down to what you can put your advantage, where you can put your efficiency. If you're able to put that extra gold into a Caitlyn early, not only does that significantly improve her ability to poke, which is what the basis of her early game kit is revolved around, but she's also able to push down towers effectively. We saw that in game 1 of the first semifinal of what happens when you're able to get ahead on a Caitlyn. 2 kills, yes, you did die and you went down once, but those 2 kills very early, not only does she have the BF sword from the first one, she's going to be able to go back, secure herself a pickaxe, and then continue to push for more, as now we see University of Toronto changing things up even more and trying to get some deep vision.
Uh-oh, JJ now doesn't have a death sentence to help himself get out. It does look like it's going to be a 4-man rotation. Nice slow going down onto Susai. He's able to get away. Demnis not going to roam, but there's Goldjet. Goldjet roams from the top side of the map and picks up a kill for Simon Fraser.
Not enough time for Jeesh to be able to pop that command shockwave, and a fantastic roam by Goldjet. He doesn't have the teleport, but the fat man can still move across the map as they pick up that kill. It does go into the hands of Gragas. Kind of would have probably hoped for that to go into the hands of the LeBlanc, because Demnis can use that to his advantage a little bit better than what you see coming out of the Gragas. And so now you've got the kill, you've got the slow, but already 5 kills in the first 7 minutes. Definitely a situation that favors the fighting style that we're seeing, uncharacteristic of what we had from last game.
And the big question is, where was Gauge's pings? Why didn't he go ahead and say, hey, Goldjet's been missing for quite some time. He doesn't have teleport. He's got to be somewhere. And it allows just a walking roam that really shouldn't happen when you're playing the defensive mid laner like Orianna early on.
No, and so now Gauge, while he was able to push himself up and kind of create a little bit of experience pressure because that kill went into the hands of Goldjet, that was an opportunity for him to be able to make that damage up. That's the commitment and the risk that you take when you physically walk down from one lane to another. You're giving up minion resources to potentially get a kill or an assist, or maybe even an objective for your team. In this case, it worked out for Goldjet. Now he's lurking around. He doesn't quite know where the jungler is, and there goes Susis.
Yeah, there he is. The cocoon will be enough. The flash away will be getting Goldjet out of dodge. So flash burned in the top lane. I was just about to say, where's Susai's been? You know, we've seen the Kazakhs roam down in the 2v2. Where has he been? What has he been doing? He's not ahead in farm. So what kind of impact have you had?
Yeah, there wasn't really much that he was doing up to that point. But now, because he was able to blow that flash, this is where you can really create opportunities as a jungler when it comes to repeat visits. Now that that's down, you secure a little bit of vision control. You loop around, avoid that vision that you have from Goldjet and the rest of the SFU squad, and then you say, all right, now that I have this, you don't have your flash available. If I can find a way to get myself another cocoon and go in, they do have the damage, because if you look at what you see from Gaugai, he's rushed that early Tiamat, and he has the damage to be able to get a lot of stuff.
Nice death sentence landing there. Hitbox, please, might be enough. Nice bubble, might turn this one around. Airy goes in, does get the kill, and so it is a 1-for-1 teleport being used by Gauge. They're gonna dive, slice, dice, Cole the Meek, down he goes, Pneumatic goes down.
That's going to be a 2-kill pickup there. 1-for-1, 1-for-2 rather, off the mark. But more importantly, they're able to continuously get that pressure on the bot lane. That forces the jungle to come down. Frozen Knight isn't able to do anything.
2 chains? Not going to do anything there.
2 chains, 1 life.
That. 2 chains, 1 life, no illusions. Away goes Demnis, but putting down the pressure on the Jeesh.
Putting down, and look at what you have from that discrepancy as well. Not only do you have SFU being able to have these solid opportunities, yes, they faltered in the bot lane from some of these ganks and some of these potentials, but they're making sure that they stay farmed up. Pneumatic is down 2 kills, but he's up about 2 waves of CS. That's extremely important in making sure that he stays up with the gold. You've got a 10 lead in kill CS in the jungle, as well as the CS advantage in the mid lane. And so despite the falters that they've had on a lot of the cross-map pressure.
Oh, a great death sentence landing by JJ. He doesn't take it all the way because he doesn't want to die, and the bait is real. JJ picking up Kazakhs.
Airy is the one to carry his team 4-2-2 at just 9 minutes and 50 seconds, but look at what you see. Goldjet lurking into the mid side. He wants to potentially get another run. That flash is not available, but he does have the ult. A very solid effort by Jeesh to recognize, hey, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Not going to get caught up. He does end up falling himself back, and that's a solid opportunity and a much more awareness level play coming out of Jeesh.
Gauge now going into Gold Jet. Gold Jet just going to take that damage up so he can make it to the minion wave. And that little bit of rotation gave a little bit more pressure to Gauge, and he's able to shove into the tower, slow down Gold Jet. And thankfully enough, Jeesh was able to feel out the gank, and that's really what separates good players from great players. You don't have vision, but you know something's not right when the top laner hasn't been there for a while.
Is that sense and that knowledge, but the bubble lands from Nami.
Oh, not enough. Eri going to be taken down, was pushed all the way up. JJ was hanging back for the Dark Passage, but Frozen Knight gets there first.
The outstretched hand from Eri was like, I want the Lantern, it's here, but isn't able to get it. The kill does go into the hands of Nemantic as well, which I think is extremely important considering he needs to get that Blade of the Rune King finish to add some level of relevance to him as a champion. Because you have that delayed split build coming out of Eri, that power spike is going to be very important for a lot of these skirmishes. As now,
Demnis trying to bait Jeesh to go in. Frozen Knight on the bottom side. One chain will land. Gold Jet will be there first. See you later. Suicide was like, I don't want any of this. Down goes Jeesh in the mid lane.
0-2-0 for Jeesh. Not the stellar outing in this game one that we're used to seeing from him. He's usually the aggressor and the one pushing others to the back foot, but instead he's gone down. Not only is it because of Demnis' ability to constantly apply that pressure, but he's getting help from his team. The jungler's coming mid. Gold Jet is now roamed 3 times to the mid lane as well, and so they're making sure that, hey, we know there's a little bit of a disadvantage. We're going to help. We're going to be your support, and the cavalry will arrive.
Yeah, and again, where's Gauge with these calls? Gold Jet's missing. Yes, we don't know specifically where he is, but by giving that information to the mid laner, it should say something. There was a clear moment where Demnis walked to the bottom side of the mid lane, and that was pretty obvious that something's up. Just back up. But without those pings coming down by Gauge, without the communication coming down by Gauge, that's 2 walking roam kills set up by Gold Jet.
Exactly, and if he had the teleport available and didn't use it, that would be one thing. But in this case, since you still have Gold Jet doing fantastic efforts at securing and keeping that teleport available, while also making sure that he shows cross-map pressure, that is the true tone, the true tale of a very proactive top laner. He's able to affect the map in every way possible. As Demnis says, no, that's my blue buff, get away. Able to ward him away with the chains, a little bit too shiny. They decide to back off. He's able to pick himself up the blue, and now Kha'Zix is roaming towards the bot side, potentially trying to see if he can get a gank. There's the teleport.
Great one. Nemantic able to go ahead and land the arrow. Oh, a great play by JJ, flashing over the wall in the Dark Passage, keeps him alive. JJ, the shot caller, the captain of the team, making plays.
The Irish flash ends up working out, and everybody comes out alive, but at what cost?
Eri caught up, and there's a death sentence being written, play away, and now it's JJ and a tower against 3 members. Will he be able to do it? Cool down on death sentence is still quite some time. Dark Passage being thrown behind him. Nice bubble to slow down the aggression by Jajil, and that's going to be it.
That bubble was defining in whether or not the University of Toronto team was able to go in. You had a roam from Jeesh coming down into things, but oh no!
Another death sentence into Frozen Knight. Suicide's not able to land the cocoon, a little bit delayed there, and walking away is Frozen Knight with his life. But in the top side of the map, Gauge, there he is. He's been pushing the whole time, gets the first tower.
Finally, all of those efforts of, guys, I'm in the top lane, I'm in my island, I'm all by myself, I'm not going to help, finally does decide to pay off. They're able to secure themselves that first tower, and that's a very big effort by him because not only is he able to get the extra gold, but he's able to catapult across to be able to get something off. Now, what we've seen a lot coming out of the Renekton with the new patch changes is Death Dance being a pivotal piece of his build. And so going for that early Tiamat, getting the wave clear, and then rushing that Death Dance is something that we've seen a lot of Renektons start to do since that patch has dropped. And that, of course, being characteristic of what we're seeing from Gauge right now.
One of the big things that will allow him to do is slice and dice through the front line, in the mid line, to the back line, and not take too much damage. The damage mitigation, we touched on it earlier, 30% reduction into a bleed type damage. Guy is going to be tanky without having to build any tank stats already. There it is. It's completed. It's finished. And Gragas is not able to punish too hard on the top side of the map. A wave's going to crash into the tower, but Gauge is going to be able to pick that one up and really farm up and still have teleport available. But it does look like Simon Fraser knows the blue buff is up. Susai's able to rappel up, get himself out of trouble. Barrel, explosive cast not going to land, but here comes Demnis, and here comes Gauge. Jeesh there. Oh, it's the sombrero not going to land, but that's more than enough damage coming out of Gauge. That's one down. Gold Jet very low, trying to get himself out. Barrel roll, not going to be enough. Susai picks that one up.
A great job to be able to pick up that kill on a Gaugai. He knows the strength that he has right now. He knows that his efforts will not go unmentioned because of the power that he's been able to acquire. Went back, bought the Death Stance. That's a lot of not only damage resistance that you have from kind of the physical damage vamp, but you also have the power as we see a teleport now. Yep. Another proactive play coming out of Gaugai.
And that's gonna be it. That's all she wrote there.
No dicing. Wasn't able to sharpen the blade enough to get the dice off. But more importantly, it was a fantastic effort by Nemantic to secure that very solid ultimate to stop JJ from coming in and trying to get some sort of death sentence. And no writing on the wall there, as that's going to be a disengage here coming out of University of Toronto.
So teleport usage wasted with one teleport up in Demnis and another one coming up very soon in Gold Jet. There's going to be a lot of macro play here, a lot of split pushing, and Gauge is going to kind of have to group up. So plays have to be made here by JJ, maybe a hard engage coming out of Susai or Jeesh, but it's going to be tough here if a 1-3-1 is able to be set up, or even a 4-1 is able to set up with all the teleports on the side of Simon Fraser University.
I think if Simon Fraser University wants to pull that if they want to pull off that 1-3-1, they need to get more power into Demnis, because when you consider a 1-3-1 and you think about what you have to do in those situations, it all comes down to, are you able to deal with anyone in a 1v1 situation? And Demnis just doesn't have the ability to do that right now. There isn't anything. He's going for the Hextech Revolver, which is a much different build than what we're used to seeing coming out of LeBlanc. It's not something as characteristic. It's a little bit more of a niche build. It has its power. It has the ability to lock down in a conditional sense the way that LeBlanc wants, but it's not something that we're used to seeing 10 out of 10. And so it really comes down to his decision making, because just look at the damage that Jeesh is pulling. He's died, but he's keeping up in farm. He's got the resistance from the Banshee's Veil as well. So Demnis really needs to kind of really start to either roam or get something off, because right now it's just not cutting it.
It's not cutting it indeed. Jeesh blocking off, putting a nice little chunk of damage there on Frozen Knight, but the game's slowing down a little bit here. The tower does go down, and now a flay away by JJ, protecting his AD carry. Airy getting pushed right into Frozen Knight. Here comes the long-range tidal wave. Airy going to go down.
Airy not being able to dodge everything. The tidal wave was gone, but he ran into a bug instead. And these late rotations that you're seeing from University of Toronto is actually hurting them in a lot of instances. Susie's, while he is 1-0-2, hasn't actually done too much in front of. A lot of it has been very reactive moments of, hey, all right, everybody else is in the bot lane, maybe I should go there too. And that's not really creating much of an opportunity for University of Toronto. And this is something that we were actually scared of coming into this match as the hook lands.
JJ looking like a rider because he's landing that death sentence. That's one down. But now Gauge in a lot of trouble, will be going down as well. Nemantic picking that one up, trying to catch them all with the chains of corruption. And now it's a little fight around the Drake, not done yet. JJ going to miss that death sentence. His pencil broke. Now Jeesh in a little bit of trouble. Jajel trying to continue the chase. A bubble not going to land as well, but now on the opposite side of the map is Jeesh, but there's the damage. Goldjet gets deleted. The pop-up not going to go anywhere. Jajel picking that one up.
There wasn't a Caitlyn. Airy was dead, reminder, so he wasn't able to join into that skirmish. The mindset of the members of University of Toronto was, we need to take this dragon. It's already halfway down. It's only got 1,400 health left. This is something we need to go for. But then they realized, so JJ doesn't really have anything. Everybody's low. Crap, we need to get the heck out of Dodge. And they ended up doing that. They were able to trade the 1-for-1, Jeesh being very lucky enough to pick up that kill, but still, they weren't really able to do too much. And so much unlike last series where we saw very decisive decisions being made by both teams in a lot of cases, there's a lot of back and forth right now, and the shot callers of both of these teams aren't really doing as much of a job at really dictating the pace for either side.
That's right, good old decisive decisions being made here by both teams. And something else I want to point out to you, it's 10-9, 19 minutes, that's 1 kill a minute. These guys are going hard and fast. Yes, hard and fast, just unlike the first set that we had there. Both teams going back-to-back. Again, this Drake is still on the map as we do have a three-man collapse. Sorry, a 4-3, three-man collapse coming in right now by University of Toronto. Not going to land, and it does look like both teams are primed to take this Drake.
They do, but it's SFU that actually has the vision control. They were able to get the interior line on the positioning. They're able to not only have vision over the wall of the entry exits from the bot side jungle, but they've also got vision right around the dragon. And so this is where decisions are different between both of these teams. SFU says, you know what, we need to prioritize that Mountain Drake. We need to be able to get that in the hands. But in the other side of the coin, it's going to be the side, of University of Toronto that decides, you know what, we want the Rift Herald instead. But look at what you see. The Rift Herald's very low. They're going to have to hurry very quick. They've got 4 seconds. It does end up going down. But no, actually, no, it doesn't.
Oh, no, it disappeared on
my.
that. It looked like they were going to try and trade it, but the Rift Herald respawns at 1945?
No. So it's 50. So it's 1950.
Oh,
that they have it,
1950, but we're
there's
going to
a
have to
fight.
wait because the chains are going down. Demnis gets held for chains. And look at the big body slam coming in by Goldjet. It's deaths all over the place. 3 kills heading on over to Simon Fraser.
It was a feels bad man moment when the Rift Herald went down, the Baron taking that away off the table. They said, well, all right, we're going to go to the mid lane now, but instead they found a pocket full of surprises, and it was the SFU squad that picked up the kills. They're trying to push for more. It forces the teleport out of Galguy to be there. Fantastic effort and an even better decision making. That's what we were talking about being the struggle for SFU. They made their decisions. They played their cards. They came out on top. They got the objectives. Now they're the ones in the lead.
And with the teleport advantage, Galguy forced to teleport back. Double teleport up. Oh no, Coldjet doesn't have teleport yet, but will be up very soon. Demnis with it, and that's going to, again, lead to even harder. It is easier to 1-3-1 or 4-1, put pressure on the map and split as the game goes later on because you have items. You're able to 1v1 if you're ahead. You're able to get away a little bit faster if you're behind, but you have these items, and now that Goldjet and Demnis both have teleport, Galguy does not. How will University of Toronto deal with that pressure?
I'm not really sure because the difficult setup that they're putting themselves in is, even though they had advantages as far as items go because they went for those cheaper first item buys.
Correct.
Now they're in a situation where, okay, we had the item advantage, we weren't able to push ourselves ahead. Now that Demnis and the other members are able to buy their first items and actually catch up in that discrepancy that was there, they're able to not only have those spikes, but they're at an even playing field. There's only 500 gold rather, separating both of these teams. And while you look at that difference, even though if you were to take a look at the gold differences, it's still a big piece coming out of just the way that the farming has been set up. But it is definitely SFU with these item spikes that's going to start pushing them ahead.
Oh, another death sentence not landing. They've been a little bit rare this game. Hasn't quite worked out there. As rare as a pink or a unicorn, but hasn't quite worked out for JJ as much. He's made a couple plays, but he's also missed on a couple plays, and we expect to see more out of JJ.
He does, and a big decision of how JJ's skill is going to transition, or should transition rather, is when he decides to use the box. Because if he's able to create a good enough zone with his ultimate to be able to push the other team away, then that could create a very opportune moment for University of Toronto to kind of push ahead. He is, let's not mind you, he has shown an effort. 1-0-7 is definitely an amicable stat line. But it's when he chooses to use those ultimates, it's when he chooses and who he chooses to lock up that's going to be very important for the coming moments.
So, a question that I want to pose is, we talked about how the jungler has been switched out. We had Susice in while Yummy Bananas is out, unfortunately. The question is, has he done enough? You know, he's 2-1-3 as he is going to be helping out in this team fight, as we do have a Death Sentence landing, and there's the combo. Never mind, shut up, Caster. There's Susice. He's going to pick up that kill.
Just like that, it was the cue for JJ to say, hey, I can hit hooks, I can be relevant too. Picks that up and not able to go off, and now it's going to be Baron that's next on the menu. You've got the top laner and the support for SFU coming across. Only a half health Frozen Knight, and it's going to be Galguy doing a fantastic job at looping that away, and they're going to be able to get it, but he can still push.
There's a blast cone, but there's a nice shockwave. He gets over the wall. Galguy's going to pick him up, so it should be it. Oh, the Baron does get taken away there by University of Toronto, but the fight continues. A nice heal coming out of the Redemption. Nemantic very low. Galguy's able to pick that one up. Jeesh and JJ against Goldjet and Jajul. It's very confusing, but Jeesh will be living very barely. I can't go any higher. It is Goldjet going to pick that one up, and it's going to be a 4-for-3 with the Baron heading on over to the side of University of Toronto.
JJ flexes his muscles, says, I still have the Baron too, he says, but that was a valiant effort by SFU. even better job by University of Toronto to make sure that Frozen Knight had 0 opportunities to go in and try to make something happen, but it was just a very, very difficult situation. You underestimate the power that a Gragas can push into it. Even though he's going for that tank Gragas, the base damage that he has is absolutely fantastic, and he still has the triple Doran's ring, so he still has a little bit of AP to play with and run with, and just like that, it's going to be the members of SFU halting the potential upset or the potential pressure that could have been from that multiple member Baron that University of Toronto just pushed for.
Yeah, but I don't think it's the worst thing in the world right now that not everyone on Toronto, they only needed one person to have it because they aren't matching the 1-3-1. They're not matching the 4-1. Really, it's just, hey, let's group up and fight now. We have those Baron-empowered minions. If we go ahead and continue to stay together, Demnis has proven that he hasn't been able to assassinate anyone. He's been getting caught out. He hasn't been able to use the Gunblade properly. So by having the Baron-empowered minions pushing into a lane, if it's not all 5 members or 4 of them, I think they'll be okay.
Now, something very interesting I want to touch upon here is Gauge actually decided to go for the Knight's Vow in the top lane. So for those of you that aren't aware, one of the unique passives of Knight's Vow is that if your partner, one of which that you bind with, is nearby, you heal for 12% of the damage that they deal, and you direct that to them. So with that in combination of the Death Dance is actually a very optimal sense of physical damage vamp is what the analyst for University of Toronto likes to call it. That's an opportunity for them to be able to push to something. Shout out to Invert for actually giving us that valuable piece of knowledge. And so now, with that one Baron that you were talking about, this is an opportunity to push, but here comes the tidal wave.
Going to be landing on Gauge. The body slam into the rest of the team is there. Gold Jet gets burned up. So Ferrero, that ult is not going to land on anyone. Jeez, what are you doing? Now the rest of the team is backing up in one cohesive unit. Frozen Knight looking for someone. JJ very low. Will he have his first death? No, not yet. Yes, it is. Frozen Knight going to pick that one up. Ace in the hole, not going to land. Demnis going to block that one, and so far it's just a 1-for-1.
Very low members on the side of University of Toronto, though, so they're going to have to be forced to recoil, and that's going to be multiple members pushing in for the tier 2. They most definitely will secure this, but instead, actually, no. They decide to go back. It is a second Mountain Drake, I believe. Yes, being spawned. So they're going to be able to have the double Mountain Drake spawn, and that's going to be the prioritization there for SFU. They want the pushing power. They want to be able to make sure if they win team fights, they can tear down these turrets very, very quickly.
A great bubble coming out of Jajil on the Suicides. Almost turned this one around. Demnis trying to go around the side. The LeBlanc has not popped off yet. Gauge very low. Nemantic able to pick up Jeej. There's the second kill heading on over to the side of Simon Fraser. University of Toronto is falling apart by the seams. Gauge not able to get away. Airy, the last one alive in this team fight. The ace in the hole not going to land. The chain's not going to land. Dark Passage going to get him to safety, but a nice turnaround by Simon Fraser.
All the while pumping more and more gold into the pockets of Nemantic. That was a double kill for him, and he's going to be able to push the pressure that much more. He decided to play safe and go for the utility third build of that Quicksilver Sash, but now he's going to have an opportunity to get more and more damage. 27 minutes, 20 seconds into the game, and it is Simon Fraser that is finally starting to make these minute micro decisions that's putting themselves ahead and off the mark, and University of Toronto is just having to keep retreat because they can't match blow for blow.
And it was a great bubble there by JJL to set that one up. Suicides was ready to go in, get the steal, but the bubble slowed things down, and you could see the stutter that University of Toronto had. Is it, do we leave Suicides and leave him alone? We see the teleport coming in. What do? They held in place for a little bit too long. Juice got blown up and everything fell apart.
And this is where you're starting to see a big difference between the University of Toronto team now and when the University of Toronto team when they had Yummy Bananas. Now, granted, Yummy Bananas was a player that, for all intents and purposes, kind of did what he wanted in a lot of ways, but in some situations, like the one that we saw, that can be an advantage, because if you decide, all right, guys, we're going to go in now, and you make that hardcore shot-calling decision, and the rest of your team is willing to follow up with you on that, you can create those advantages, but with those situations...
Oh, nice play there. The Fnatic push almost worked out, but there's the death sentence. Frozen Knight goes into it face first, goes over the wall anyways. Here comes the Chains of Corruption, does land. Repel being used, flash away by Suicides, but takes the Dark Passage anyway, so a little interesting interaction there. But you were saying?
JJ, I'm going to have to pause everything I was saying, because JJ's lanterns have been very pivotal in helping a lot of his team survive and really helping just mitigate and reduce the amount of deaths, yeah, that every single member could have created onto this. And now Demnis is going to get the double chains and get the damage, but it's not going to be nothing. But they are still going to be able to push on the spotlight, get a little bit of damage. Nami bubble, or not Nami bubble, but rather Nami attack to try to say, hey, look, boom, I'm helping push down that turret. But instead, They are going to back off. They are going to play safe. Something I love about Simon Fraser University right now is they're making sure that if they can't 100% guarantee a victory or a push, they back off.
Yeah. They've done a great job of that right now in both supports with the highest KDA on each other's team. And I would say both of them are doing a great job carrying their team as we get into the late game. And as we are moseying on in there, which team composition do you feel like succeeds better as we get later?
I think it comes down to the zoning that SFU has. If you look at the composition, obviously the later it gets, the more powerful that command shockwave is going to create, and the pick opportunities that Susis and Galgai can really kind of have in the mark. But something that SFU is doing really well is they're making sure that these situations, as we say that JJ lands a hook, it's not going to be as much, but it is going to allow for damage onto that turret. Tier 2 is going to go down, and
nice
here comes the ult.
Explosive cask, another flash into the lantern. So although these kills aren't coming through, the summoner spells are being blown. So who's actually getting the win? Is it the team blowing the spells, or is it the team getting away?
It's definitely SFU because they're securing these objectives. They will gladly trade. They will gladly trade the kills. They will gladly trade the summoner spells because they can get objectives. Something that SFU has, like we mentioned, is that double teleport. So the more open that they push up the map, the more of an opportunity they can create this cross-map pressure. And that's what's extremely important. And for those of you new viewers out there, that when we're talking about a lot of open map and a lot of things that come out with this ability spell, teleport. Teleport gives you that opportunity to teleport, exactly what it says, from one point of the map to another based on a specific piece that your ally could put down, whether it be a plant or a lantern or a ward in a lot of cases in these instances that they teleport to. And that on this kind of map MOBA situation that you have with League of Legends gives that opportunity for someone to go on another side of the map, create pressure, and then join the party when they do decide to start dancing and having some fun.
Correct. It can create an even number advantage, almost like a power play or something of that nature, without clearing out. So you can see Simon Fraser right now taking away the vision, taking away those wards that teams can teleport to and see in that area while they're up. And by doing that, it prevents them from getting flanked and getting caught out with odd numbers. And what it also does is prepare an area of the map where the other team can't see, and right now it's the Baron. And back to all of our hardcore viewers, the Baron vision is in control of Simon Fraser. And so with the Baron vision, with the Scuttle Crab, with the gold lead, and the teleports up, it really bodes well for the side of Simon Fraser.
Goldjet knows that there's going to be a push coming out of Galgai in the bot lane. He has to make sure to continuously push up and push back if his team decides to want to go for this, because there's going to have to be a hard commit. Because you have a one-tank situation in Goldjet, if he's not there when they're deciding to go for that Baron, there's going to be a lot of damage that Baron is doing onto the multiple members. Now, granted, you do have a Nami to help heal and sustain yourself up while you have that, but you have to make an all-or-nothing decision on what you want to do. And with that being said, SFU is recognizing this, and they're ensuring, they're saying, you know what, we're not going to have that. Goldjet's going to come up into the mid lane. They're going to try to create some pressure over there and either decide to commit to that Baron or, more importantly, going to go to that Dragon, which is next.
One of the big things that we have to take a peek on is the damage dealers that we have. Caitlyn in the map this time. Aerie, this is the third Caitlyn game we've seen today. Aerie's going to be the first one building the Runon's Hurricane with the rapid fire cannon, giving him extra range and keeping him theoretically safer. So we'll see how much damage he's able to dish out. That makes it all the more important for Galgai to keep the Gragas away. Goldjet now popping over the wall, and it does look like we have a pincer attack coming in. There's the Dark Passage, but where is it going to? Jeesh able to use the barrier but stay alive, and it's one big cluster. Will Aerie be able to get into the fight? And yes, it is. JJ picks up one. Namantic picks up two. Down he goes, so 2 kills heading on over to the side of University of Toronto. Galgai continuing the push, but either way, it's going to be stemmed there. 2 deaths for Simon Fraser University.
The plan started strong with a beautiful barrel to knock back Jeesh, but it wasn't enough, and disaster struck when they weren't able to finish off that kill. A perfect ending and activation of that redemption active. So that allowed Jeesh to survive, able to get a beautiful 3-man shockwave, and now they're able to pick up a couple kills. They're able to get the tier 1 turret in the mid lane, and just like that, University of Toronto is back in it.
They are in it indeed, 20-17 with the Dragon heading on down. But look at this sneaky play coming out of Simon Fraser. They do have the vision. The red ward is down, the control ward that is down. And maybe they're going to look for a pick or something of that nature. Demnis going to go over the wall, find the blue buff, and they should be able to take that one nice and easy. Blue buff giving nearly unlimited mana and extra cooldown reduction so you can spam those spells even faster, pull out the 2 chains even quicker. But look at the bully move being played by University of Toronto.
They're pushing through. They're coming in. The flash hook doesn't land. But oh no, is he going to be able to stay? He gets the play.
He does get the play. Dark passage down. Airy going to take it up. Support says go. We're going to go right into the rest of the team. He stays alive, though.
So teleports are still up for SFU. So even though you've got inside positioning right here for the vision control coming out of University of Toronto, that doesn't mean that the rest of the members can't join and come through. The teams from the red side are coming out saying, let's clear, let's go through. Goldjet is caught in between a raptor or a crocodile in a hard place. He's going to have to be forced to back away. But something that SFU has for their favor is minions are pushing onto the bot side. But a little bit of a miscalculated decision. But they're going to be pushing onto Demnis.
The blast cone accidentally not getting everyone over the wall. There's the hook. Nice sidestep by Demnis. Demnis, the menace, very low, and Airy's going to take that one down. Sombrero on top of Frozen Knight. He's able to get away. Airy very low. Great heal by the Redemption. Frozen Knight hasn't picked up Airy, and Airy is still alive. Down he goes. JJ going to pick that one up. Frozen Knight very low. Down he goes. But Untouched is Nemantic on the side of the map. Gets one. It's JJ going down. So far, it's been a 2 for 2. Flash forward by Gauge. Will he be able to pick up the kill? Yes, he is. There's one. Rappel up. Keeps him alive. Goldjet, the only one down. He jets himself out of trouble. And it's a big fight win for University of Toronto.
Absolute catastrophe struck when that barrel came out from Goldjet and actually puts Jeesh into his own backline. If you're going to be trying to secure those kills as SFU, not only do you have to take down the Caitlyn, but you have to take down that Orianna. That constant ability spam, especially when you're looking at 36 minutes into the game. 3 items. Jeesh does a heck of a lot of damage, and so you have to make sure to prioritize that in your fights. That's not something that they decided to do. Jeesh was able to actually end up picking up 3 kills at the end of that as a total, one of which being a double kill, and that's University of Toronto coming through, being resilient, weathering the storm of the team fight.
Teleport coming in now. Gauge knows he's in a lot of trouble. He's going to try to walk himself out of this. Goldjet able to go and stall out enough. Here comes Demnis. Demnis going to pick this kill up, and now it's going to be a 5v4 for 55 seconds. The Baron might get started up. No, just kidding. They're going to back off. So a little bit of an overstay from University of Toronto.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Gauge wanting to try to tango, but he didn't have the footwork to be able to do so and was forced to back off. But now, here we are again. The story of today has been the Baron dances that now 4 out of 4 teams have consistently gone across, but this is where things start to get a little bit of difference, because whereas we had to worry about Engage on the previous teams, there's plenty of Engage and Disengage from the opposite side. There's the Tidal Wave, and the Baron's very close to death.
And the Chains of Corruption, and it goes, and it is taken by Simon Fraser. They started up, they pick it up. Suicide's very low, and here comes Demnis. Accidentally uses the gunblade on the wrong one, but that's okay. He ends up picking it up as well. Getting in there with Distortion. Now Airy forced to go ahead, walk himself out of trouble. Did pop the belt, and down goes JJ now, and all the things going wrong, all because Gauge got caught in the top lane.
They still have their wave clear available, but it's just not going to be enough. Gauge gets caught out in the top lane. He's forced to recall. The rest of the team just isn't there. And so what are they going to have to do now? They're going to have to suffer. 2 kills are down. Frozen Knight's able to take the red buff away. At this stage in the game, red buff on Caitlyn is extremely important at being able to make sure that you can stick to your opponents and put off as much of that crit damage as you have. But without that available now, there's going to just be a lack of an opportunity for University of Toronto. So they're going to have to be forced to sit back, take a deep breath, reset, and try to figure out how they can crack SFU, because SFU is extremely coordinated at this point in the game.
They're doing a great job now, and it is going to be a little bit of manning down the hatches, holding on to the objectives that you have, because all of the outer towers are gone except the bot lane one. The bot lane second turret barely in there, but with only that left up, what do you do? Like, if they push the mid lane, here comes the 1-3-1. You can already see it. LeBlanc in the top lane, as Froggen would say. On the bottom side of the map, it's Gragas. No teleports up quite yet, but they will be up soon, and the pressure is starting to be put on University of Toronto.
So University of Toronto, they're just on the back foot right now. A lot of their efforts and a lot of the things that they're trying is extremely reactive. Yes, you had the flash coming out of JJ, but just as I say that...
Oh, there's a nice hook into the Chains of Corruption. JJ in the front line gets bubbled up now. There's an explosive cast. Delivers JJ right on in there. Now Dennis coming on over will be putting some damage down, but one pick turned into a counter pick. It's JJ going down.
It was almost an immediate McHale's there by JJ, and that was just such a coordinated effort by SFU. All the decisions they're making, not only are they making effectively, but they're making as a unit, and that's why they're having the success that they have. As we see a Siege coming down onto the bot side, you've got Wave Clear on Jeesh, but he doesn't have that blue buff, and so that mana is slowly draining across. The last super cannon is going to have to go down, but that doesn't mean that the pressure is stopping from SFU, as they have minion management. The top lane is pushing in, they're not stopping.
And they have Baron for about another minute 20. Airy is so important to clear out these minions right now, along with Jeesh, but Jeesh is starting, like you said, to run out of mana. The range and the spread of your auto attacks with Runon's Hurricane comes up big. They do hold on to the bottom tower, but for how long is the big question. Oh, Depness catching out Susai. Susai's able to go ahead and get himself out of trouble, but it is very, very scary right now for University of Toronto to walk into their own jungle.
You want to talk about scary? You want to talk about if this Elder Drake goes into the favor here of SFU, because they're going to have the double for the Mountain Drake pushing, and that's going to be it. The command Shockwave is going to try to get it done, but it's just not going to be enough now. As the oppression continues, as you've got multiple dashes over the wall to try to make something happen, but now you've got the double stack burn from the Elder Drake, as well as the Mountain, as well as the double bonus that you have from the Mountain Drake pushing. This is going to be very important, and just look at how fast the towers are dropping now in favor of SFU.
Jump, how about this for a game one? 21-26, 40 minutes in, more than 1 kill per minute. And this is just game one.
It is, it's game one. But what's more important is just both of these teams going back and forth without faltering. They're not scared, they're not going, but now the fight.
Goldjet gets hooked in, does not use explosive cast. There it is, does push Scoutgate aside. Another death sentence not going to land, but that does mean the inhibitor should be going down very shortly. A couple more auto attacks might do it. JJ doing his best to deter those last auto attacks. Ooh, Shockwave only lands on one, but there it is. Chains of Corruption going down on Susai. Susai's able to get himself out. Death Passage will be doing its job. And now, there it is. The inhibitor does go down. So a little bit of skirmishing there, a lot of bit of skirmishing, no deaths, but the inhibitor does go down.
But this is where we're seeing the strengths of Simon Fraser University. Instead of using their ultimates aggressively to either knock multiple members in or commit to a fight,
right,
you saw that barrel toss coming out of Goldjet specifically to push members away so they could secure that mid lane. They know the power that they have. They know the advantage that they're holding in their hands. And so now it comes down to, we don't have to fight, we don't have to create these opportunities, we just need to create enough of a stall and enough of a solid situation so we can secure those objectives, because then that's going to force University of Toronto to, if they want to defend those objectives, they're going to have to fight. And then Simon Fraser is willing to do so with the advantage that they have in their pockets.
Yeah, again, we haven't really, other than the big 3-man Shockwave in the river, haven't seen a big game-changing one out of Jeesh. And we know Orianna is that kind of champion with the correct placement of her ball, which leads to the Shockwave. It can really change the tide of a fight, but really hasn't done it quite yet. And again, you look on the opposite side, the mid laners have kind of underwhelmed. It's really been the junglers, the AD carries, and mainly the supports making the big plays.
The support, but more importantly, Nemantic, because Nemantic is making a huge decision every fight of whether or not to use his ultimate as an engaging tactic or as a disengaging tactic. Now recently, because of just the raw power that you have from Galgai trying to go in and get on the backside, it all comes down to him using that as a disengage and making sure that he can keep himself safe. But he has those opportunities where he doesn't necessarily have to do so because he's got the Mercurial Scimitar to whisk something away. He also has the help and the potential from JJ to do something. Yeah, as he just uses it and he just has it. But there's a piece of aggression now coming out of Galgai telling the Gragas to pop off, but it doesn't matter because it's just unrelenting by SFU.
Look at the items that Goldjet has created. Not only, he's not a gold jet right now, he's a gold tank or a titanium jet because he has 1, 2, 3, 4 armor items in his build. 5 armor items in his build. Sorry about that, Ninja Tabi. No one really cares about you. But it's a very important one, and it really negates all of the split pushing damage, all of the lead that Galgai had earlier. What can he do now? He really can't split push anymore. He can't threaten for a kill. He's just kind of there to clear the wave.
And that's the mid-game struggle that they were talking about when we interviewed them and we said, hey, where do you guys have the biggest difficulties? Not only were they stating the fact that their mid game wasn't as powerful, but we've also seen that as a result from previous performances when they're not able to do something of a fantastic. And as we say that,
here comes the tidal wave over the wall. Goes Frozen Knight yet again, another passage. Oh, a great play by JJ from the body slam. Keeps Suicides alive. Suicides goes back in. Another shockwave missed by Jeesh. He goes down. A couple kills under the tower. Will be where the fight is happening. JJ finds another death sentence, but the only one that's being written right now is his own. Now Airy forced to flash away, gets himself out of trouble, but the damage has already been done. Jeesh and JJ are down, and now the base is in the eyes of Simon Fraser.
There's a super minion sitting and knocking at the door, and this could be it for University of Toronto here in Game 1. Their pivotal members are still up. They've got some lockup available from Susies in the Cocoon, as well as the damage coming out of Arian, so that's going to force a retreat here from SFU, but that doesn't matter because they can still decide to go for that Baron. You do have a 25-second timer on both JJ as well as G, so there is an opportunity for them to have something. As the fat man says, hey, I kind of want to bounce, kind of want to do a little dance, but
body slam into Gaogay. Gaogay trying to get himself away. One chain lands, another chain lands, not two chains, but just one on each person. Suicide's not able to get away from the tidal wave. Great timing by JJ, and that's going to be another kill on the jungler. Baron's going to be free.
Back at it, they said, as they did a great little cheeky effort to have that little Fnatic bush to say, you know what, we're going to get the pick, we're going to try to go for more. They were only able to pick up one, but what was most important is they ended up picking up the jungler. So now they have a 40-second timer to potentially to go for the Baron. They actually did a fantastic job at pushing Goldjet back so he could teleport in, but here's where things start to get sticky.
Oh, what did JJ's hook land on? Oh, it landed on a spider. Sorry, JJ, now you're in trouble. There goes your AD carry, very low. Airy getting an auto attack off, does pick up Demnis. There's one. Shockwave did help out a bit, but not a ton. Now Jeesh on the wrong side of the map. Here goes Hoppin. There goes the bug. Over the wall. That's one. That's two. And now Frozen Knight all alone against Gaogay, but it's actually Gaogay all alone against the rest of Simon Fraser. They're going to turn on to the minions and close this one out very shortly. Gaogay stuck under his own tower.
The lone crocodile to save them all. As the tidal wave does a fantastic job at canceling out that recall, and here you are, multiple members knocking at the door. Another valiant effort to stop that recall. Susies is alive, but I don't know if he's able to stop this.
The inhibitor responds, so they're not able to attack the minions. Now it's going to be a 1v1 jungler against top laner, and Gaogay is very fed, but no, it's won by Frozen Knight. He tastes their fear, and down he goes. It's only Suicides left alive. One tower left. The bubble not going to land. Repel goes up. Body slam into the spider. Squish him down. Down he goes. Arrows ignite. Make him run away. Maybe an auto attack. That's going to be enough. The fish picks up the kill on the spider. We know who rules nature. It's going to be game 1 heading on over to Simon Fraser.
Simon Fraser rocked him. They socked him, and they're able to get the game 1 victory. And it all comes down to the unified decisions and the decisive efforts that they made at every stage of the game. The most important aspect that separates the good teams from the great teams is fully committing on a decision. When everyone's on the same page and somebody says go, then you need to be the one that's following up. And that's exactly what Simon Fraser did. Every time they made a decision, it was all or nothing. Sometimes it didn't work out, but 9 times out of 10, things were going in their favor. They played the team fights correctly. They forced the objective control. And just like that, they go up 1-0 against University of Toronto.
Yeah, and one of the great things here was that even though both teams found their own engages, look at the kills. Even though they were the ones that were getting the pressure, both teams were able to pick up kills and keep themselves in the match. We've seen a lot of lesser teams get engaged upon and fall apart. Both of these teams went back and forth.
It was difficult across the board, but that's only game 1, Daniel. We've got another game coming up right here. We're going to take a quick short break between Simon Fraser University and University of Toronto here at the CSL Canadian Invitational. Don't touch that browser.
Sam and Ken are on separate journeys. Most of the luck is on their side. If only there was a way for them to band together. Well, that's possible. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together due to common interests. You can find phone games, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Epic battles with friends that share videos and photos of fun things. Try band today. Band. Together.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Scotiabank Theatre here in Toronto, Ontario for Game 2 of our second set of the Canadian Invitational presented by Collegiate Star League. I'm Daniel Degon Gonzalez. With me is Bill Jump Carter. That was one of the more hectic fights, one of the most hectic fights I've ever casted. How did that make you feel, Bill?
Exhilarating.
Exhilarating.
I think if I had to kind of compress it into one word, I think exhilarating is definitely the one to use because that showed the top two powerhouses from the East and the West kind of coming together. Yes, SFU made a lot more of those late game decisions that kind of propelled them to that victory.
Right.
But in the earlier game, it was neck and neck, back and forth, back and forth. You think about League of Legends as a game of chess in a lot of ways. If you take some of my pieces, I'll take some of yours, while also implementing that strategy. In the early game, it was pawn taken, because neither one of these teams were willing to back down at any point in time.
Yeah, and one of the things that I thought was interesting are, with these two teams being some of the top teams, it wasn't very clean. It was not a clean victory for SFU or clean plays out of University of Toronto, but it was skilled. You could see the mind games, the micro mind games going on within the team fights, but people were getting caught out a lot.
And that's kind of the way I look at it is an opportunity for Toronto to bounce back. They're down 1-0. This is a best of 3, and so if SFU pulls ahead and is able to get that to a victory, then they secured their spot in the grand finals. But Toronto has seen not only the mistakes that they have made, but they've also been able to accurately witness the mistakes that SFU made despite the fact that they won. And so now is an opportunity for Toronto to not only pull out some extra cards potentially, but try to capitalize on the mistakes that SFU made while trying to fix the mistakes of their own.
Absolutely. There it is. And these teams are both had their coaches here, both had their team talks outside and are ready to get onto the Rift. And here we are on the Rift into picks and bans. It's going to be University of Toronto on the blue side, and on the red side, Simon Fraser University. They're going to go ahead and knock out these first couple of picks and bans here, just bans here. It's going to be Syndra and Gragas that University of Toronto don't want to see anymore. Now on the opposite side, Ivern taken away early, and now the Talon yet again respecting Jish in the mid lane.
The Gragas is an obvious pick to take off the mark because Goldjet just performed so well across the board. Now the Karma gets taken away as well, so the Syndra and the Karma, the same bans that they had, exact same bans coming out of SFU as well, and now is where you have that decision coming from University of Toronto. What do they prioritize? And 2 out of 2, it's going to be that Caitlyn.
Caitlyn put in the hands of Arian to Aries' detriment. He never had an opportunity to cleanly fight. There were multiple threats on his case the whole time. And even in that last game, Demnis didn't get fed early on. So you can only imagine what it would be like if LeBlanc falls onto the side of Simon Fraser again early, and there's an assassin in the face of the Caitlyn.
But as the statement goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, because that's going to be a Varus and a Kha'Zix picked up right off the bat for SFU. They saw the strength of both of those players and those champions in the last game, and so, hey, they might as well continue to keep some of the same strategy and go for the picks that they have just then.
So now waiting to see what will go back. It's going to be Elise and Nami. So now the Nami being traded out, we'll see JJ on the Nami, not J-Gel. And so that pushes a little bit of interesting possibilities here. Karma, Lulu gone, normally known as the top 2 support champions. Nami is partially in that group because of the healing. What is left here for J-Gel?
J-Gel can still go for something. We can still go for something. We've seen the Bard actually pop up from time to time. J-Gel, I believe, has pulled that out a couple times during the ULOL regular season. But in this instance, I actually see for him going for something potentially a little bit more aggressive. I wouldn't be surprised if you potentially saw something, you could see something like a Thresh. Try to make some plays. Try to kind of help out your team in a lot of ways. But something that I actually like from SFU, oh no. Is that real? Is that going to happen? It is. It's going to be the Kench getting unbenched right away. Now, that is going to be a Kench in the bot lane because you have the Renekton locked in as well. So this guarantees that Tahm Kench is going to be there to help out that Varus. And I actually like this a lot because you go against double poke, you know that you're going to need a little bit of help. And so what better way to be able to help your team get out of dodge, with that tongue lash grab up that Tahm Kench is going to have at his disposal.
So Tommy Boy back in the game, going to be, definitely going to be in the pot lane. I just wanted to double check. We do have Renekton on the map. What do University of Toronto choose here? Do they decide to go tank? Do they go damage? Oh, they go tank. It's going to be the Shen on the opposite side to help mitigate the cross-map pressure that a Tahm Kench can put with Abyssal Voyage.
So a complete 180 here for Galgai in the top lane. He decided to go for the Renekton and try to do the early game carry and try to help his team that way in the beginning of it. But now instead, he's decided to go for, we're just going to go for the raw tank. And so while you do still have a pick composition coming from the side of Toronto, similar to their previous setup, they now have a better, more efficient front lane tank in the Shen, as well as another control mage in Talia. So things have changed a little bit, but by and large, it's still roughly a lot of the same composition. And so now SFU has to make the decision, what are we going to do? Where are we going to go? And by golly, by God, that's going to be a Kassadin in the mid lane.
By G, indeed. It's Kassadin showing up for the third time.
Yeah.
The third time in our Canadian Invitational. Kassadin, I guess, becoming a priority pick in our new midseason patch. Still surprised that
Is this the foreshadowing for professional play?
Hopefully, maybe. These guys are master challenger tier, and Demnis showed that although he wasn't able to pop off, he also didn't fall too far behind. Jish fell behind and struggled mightily to find plays on the Orianna.
So this is where you are going to see how coordinated SFU really is. Because when you look at their composition, they only have one form of technical, reliable engage, that Varus Ultimate being the only one that's able to actually come off the mark on it. But outside of that, they don't really have any hard engage. Yeah, you can slice and dice in and potentially get a one-person stun, but you don't have the crowd control area of effect CC of any point in time that you see like you have on the side of University of Toronto. And so if the members of SFU are wanting to be successful, they're going to have to make sure that they rely on not only their ability to skirmish, but their ability to make those decisions of when to skirmish. Because if they can skirmish when the crowd control members of University of Toronto are gone, that's a good effort. They can push themselves forward. But If they're not able to and that 5v5 breaks out, there is an opportunity for University of Toronto to come ahead in those team fights.
In the split pushing case of Renekton against Shen, when is it when it swings both ways? Who wins early, who wins later on, and about what's that timer?
Renekton definitely is able to push early just because of his Q, able to easily quick push waves. Now with the changes to Sunfire Cape and being more of a split pushing item, and actually it ended up quadrupling the damage that it did to the minions. So it's much better to build if you're trying to counter push the wave. I expect Shen to kind of build this a little bit early. Plus, of course, get the health and the armor that it provides. But there's definitely going to come a point in time when Renekton becomes essentially invaluable, or unvaluable rather, when it comes to pushing up against Shen. Because when Shen hits that level 9, level 11, and he's able to have those items and an extra beef to him, there's nothing that Renekton is going to be able to do. And so again, it's that timer of we need to push early, we need to show our advantage, because if not, the enemy team is going to outscale and they're going to put themselves in a difficult situation.
Last point before we kick it to break. Susai's back on that Elise. How does that make you feel? We talked about it when he had a lot of the caster curse. It was almost like the caster blessing. But did he do enough to warrant playing Elise yet again?
I think so. I think Elise really synergizes with their composition. I think it's exactly what they're wanting to have, but I think it needs to be better executed. I don't think the Elise pick is what destroyed their composition and kind of destroyed the problem. I think it was a lack of proactivity. We talked a lot about how Galgate didn't move in the top lane. Was on his island and he was content with it. He didn't roam down and really do too much. Elise in Sosis was kind of the same way, didn't really have those clear-cut decisions. And so I think for University of Toronto, it's not necessarily the change in champions that's going to dictate their success in this game. I think it's a change in mentality that's really going to push themselves forward.
All right, sounds good. So with that, we have a couple of seconds before we get into the game. But before we do, we're going to take a very short break before we get into Game 2 between Simon Fraser University up 1-0 against University of Toronto here at the Canadian Invitational presented by the Collegiate Star League. Don't touch that browser. Just link her. Don't. Give me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Rift for Game 2 of Set 2 in our Canadian Invitational. We've got the two powerhouses here, the best in the West against the best in the East, and so far the West has bested the East. It's Simon Fraser up 1-0 against University of Toronto on the blue side.
No, we can't go yet. There's a pause. No, we're kidding.
I was ready to go, but then Bill took it away. That's all right, John. We'll go ahead and wait.
I didn't mean to kill your thunder, man.
You did. My thunder's gone.
Well, we're not casting UBC, so we don't have to worry about thunder rockets or anything like that.
Well, Thunderbirds, that's all right. Thunder rockets. You're like a ground type, man. You just killed my vibe. B, don't kill my vibe, Bill.
It's okay. All right, let's
don't kill my vibe.
No.
Bill, don't kill my vibe.
Let's restart. 30 seconds in.
Go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Scotiabank Theatre here in Toronto, Ontario for Game 2 between University of Toronto and Simon Fraser University. Oh, it's another pause. No, what happened?
All right, so it looks like we're actually having some kind of disconnects for a second. So we can kind of spend this time to kind of take a step back and look at not only the team compositions again, but I kind of want to take a step back even further and talk about SFU and Toronto and really what they've been able to accomplish thus far. When you think about, we've talked about the best in the East, we've talked about the best of the West, but when it really comes down to it, it's just the amount of dedication that both of these teams have put to be at the top of their craft. SFU has always kind of been up there when it comes to the rankings and how they've been able to dominate in the scene, but they haven't really been able to overcome the UBC kind of crew until this year.
Right, they haven't quite cracked that top tier, I guess, of collegiate esports until this year. Wondering how much does that go to your head? How much does that pay into the play, knowing that if they win this game, they play UBC? How much does that make them feel loose to play, cocky, play whatever champions they want to play?
I think it really comes down to just the confidence level that they have in their own play styles. When you take a look at what defines a team and what defines the opponent that they're going against, it's not always how cocky are they, how confident are they against the enemy team, but it's more importantly like confidence in yourself. It's here we go, motivational philosophy. If you believe in yourself, you're going to find yourself a level of elevated success. And I definitely think that is what both of these teams kind of have going for them as we kind of get onto this match. Now we're back into it. Now we're here, the Scotiabank Theater, game 2 of the second semifinal here for the Collegiate Star League Canadian Invitational, with both of the teams, Simon Fraser University taking on University of Toronto. It is University of Toronto on the blue side. Galgai in the top lane, Susis in the jungle, Jish in the mid lane, Ari at 80 carry with JJ at support.
And on the opposite side, 1-0, it's Simon Fraser University, best in the West and up so far in this series. Goldjet in the top lane, Frozen Knight in the jungle, Demnis the Menace in the mid lane, Nemantic and JJ at support and 80 carry, respectively. But a little bit of trading going back and forth between these guys. The jungler's going to start on opposite sides of the map, so let's look for these early 3.5-minute ganks out of these junglers.
So you want to talk about ganks and you want to talk about pressure. We've highlighted already how you have the teleport advantage again in favor of SFU. They've got the double teleport in Goldjet and onto Demnis, but now they have an extra level of cross map that they can kind of play with. There are very real possibilities and there are very realistic scenarios where there could be a 5-man party in the bot lane because you have JJ kind of stepping out of lane just long enough, maybe on a recall or something of that effect, using his ultimate to throw Frozen Knight into the fray, and then the double teleports coming down. And if that is able to be coordinated successfully, there's a huge opportunity for SFU to kind of blow the door wide open in this early game.
A lot of pressure coming out of that Simon Fraser side, as we do see Susai's flash forward, not throw the cocoon. Great play. Goldjet will be able to get himself out, or Willie G showing up as well, and it's the first blood heading on over to University of Toronto.
We worried indeed about how University of Toronto was going to respond in Galgai being in the top lane and using it as an island, but their strategy kind of stayed, well, if you're not going to leave, we're going to come to you. Beautiful early roam there by Susis, and even better by Jish to be able to pick up that kill, securing that assist and helping himself out a little bit. And so now with Susis with that early kill, he's able to secure himself a tracking knife and try to get some advantage of vision for his team.
Susis, again, filling in for Yummy Bananas. We can't highlight it enough. The team changes when one player changes, and it's been evident so far, but that was a great roam and a great play. And again, right there at the 3:30-minute mark, as Goldjet, you have to be aware of that.
You have to understand the power that multiple CC chains can really put on you, and he didn't at that point in time. Ended up blowing his flash as well as his teleport, so now he's at not only a severe disadvantage with summoner spells, but when you're going against somebody like a Shen that just survives and just benefits from being able to get those tanky stats, the second that you start putting yourself at a disadvantage for that, that's when difficulties start to happen, as Jish doing a really good job at trying to contain Demnis in the mid lane and getting off that poke.
Getting poke off, indeed. But I think a lot of the damage gets mitigated from Jish due to the null sphere, the magic barrier that comes up when you cast the Q as Kassadin walks, and it seems very telegraphed when Jish is going to be landing some damage down. So being aware of when to trade, and if Demnis ever uses null sphere not defensively, that's when you would look for trades.
So vision control on the bot side of the map has been very stellar by SF. They've been able to secure knowledge of where exactly CC's is. CC's recalling right now. They know this, they're aware of this, they can afford to be a little bit more aggressive. That's why you see Jajo kind of pushing up in the lane and going for a little bit more of these aggressive plays. As you see Goldjet doing a really good job of getting a lot of damage off, but takes that tower and puts himself in a difficult spot. And Galgate still hasn't gone back yet. He's sitting on quite a bit of gold right now. And so if you take a look at where we're sitting at, the second that Galgate actually goes back, it's going to be a much more difficult time for Goldjet. And he understands that, and that's why he hasn't gone back quite yet. He's going to continue to sustain himself up. There's double Thorns blade on the side of Goldjet, so there's really not much else that he can do at this point in time. So Galgate is okay with kind of just sitting back, farming himself up, and then when he can go back and buy a big piece of item, good things can happen.
Trying to become a part of sneaky trap coming out of JJ. And going back to the top lane and touch on that, Goldjet's doing the right thing. He's preventing Galgate to turn his lead, which is a potential lead because he hasn't spent gold in items and potentially damage or armor, into just a theoretical lead. It's not actually a lead. To be honest, the stats are in favor of the Renekton in the top lane. Goldjet is doing a great job, but what that does do is open him up for yet another gank, and here it comes. Suicice coming up the lane. Goldjet lining up the slice and dice. Smart thing to do. Cold the Meek will be dealing a little bit of damage. Suicice getting very low. Oh, Goldjet getting very low, but the damage might be turned around. Yes, it is, but there it is. Repelled going up, stun going down. Suicice will be able to win that one. It's another kill, and just like that, Goldjet gets caught out.
So not only was it a beautiful sense of patience coming out of University of Toronto, but Galgate actually hit level 6 while that was going on. He used the taunt to get back into his own minion wave, but then actually decided to go for his now.
Gank coming out of Frozen Knight. Sorry about that. Really something that just came out of nowhere, and Frozen Knight not going to be able to get too much of the flash out of Peak.
And so now it's the members of SFU that are trying to make things happen, and they're just not working out for them. Goldjet changing up his playstyle and going for a little bit more of a bruiser style isn't really working out for him the way that he wants it to. 0-2 and 0. Both of those kills actually going over into CC's. And believe it or not, that's not bad. Galgate doesn't require a lot of resources. He doesn't have to have a huge amount of gold to be relevant just to the nature that Shen brings to the table. And so putting that extra gold into the Elise makes things really good. As look at what you see from Frozen Knight doing a fantastic job at stealing away that red buff and getting a nice little cheeky play here at almost 8 minutes in the match.
I think University of Toronto knows that happened. You see Suicice now walking into the top side river, possibly going back to that top lane. But ain't broke, don't fix it. We talked about it earlier. And now Suicice on his horse trying to get on up there. Taunt going down by Gaogai. Gaogai doing a great job holding up Goldjet. The cocoon not going to land. Barely wide. JJ pressuring JJ. The support's going back and forth, but nice play out of Goldjet to not get caught yet again.
So if you got JJ and you've got JJ, if you had to separate them between which one would be the good JJ and which one would be the bad JJ.
Oh, it's definitely the one that's been in jail wearing the stripes. JJ, a bad boy indeed. JJ, a good guy. He's the good guy.
How can you trust a catfish with
1.7 to go?
Don't do that. Stay away from Louisiana.
Actually not. Louisiana's a fantastic place.
Where else would you find a catfish with a top hat?
Which they ran earlier.
League of Legends on the Rift.
Under the basket. 1.7 to go.
All right, that's where that one ends. JJ gets eaten up, and the damage gets mitigated. JJ stepping up now, showing who the superior fish is. It's the Nami getting an auto attack or two off onto JJ. There's the lick. There's another bubble. And this is not the worst thing in the world. Aerie stepping up to put some damage on.
It is, but you don't have a lot of mana on the side of Aerie and JJ, and so while they can do a lot of this poke, they can't really follow up with any of their abilities, and so they're kind of pigeonholed into just using that auto attack poke. That's why you see them pushing up as much as they do. You've got 90 CS at the 930 mark there for Aerie, so he wants to go back and pick himself up some items, and you can see that happening just now. He's recalling, the wave's pushed up, let's do all the methodical pushes. He's going to be able to go back and wow, decides to
caught out his Frozen Knight, and he barely lives. The night does not end like that, and Frozen Knight gets himself out of trouble.
But what cost does that leave? There is still the flash available onto the Demny, so a really big setup for them there. As now we're taking a look at the top side of the map. 10 minutes now, so this is where we're going to start seeing teams and all members getting kind of a lot closer to their item spikes. Second blue being able to be transferred over onto Demnis. This is a much slower game than what we saw in the last match.
And this is the game. Oh, sorry. And this is the game that we expect out of these teams. These are games that are a little bit more controlled. The aggression is there. Gold Jet probably shouldn't have gotten caught out the second time. I think the first time, okay, maybe shouldn't have caught out, but either way, you want to push it in. You want to get Gaogate not going. But the second time probably should have known something was up. Had wards up and still got caught out. And Gold Jet really not on the top of his game, but other than that, Simon Fraser not too far behind, only about 500 gold, which is the gold of the kills in the top lane. Otherwise, Kassadin farming better than Talia in the mid lane, and that's where the gold deficit is being made up right now by Simon Fraser.
And this is actually a recognition by Simon Fraser to understand that it's going to take a while for them to actually be able to be relevant in these fights. Kassadin wasn't able to get any sort of advantage off any kills, so they're waiting for his Rod of Ages to be completed. You've already got a huge advantage that the Caitlyn Nami are pushing in, and so Nemantic is just doing everything he can to build up, get that Bork, become a little bit more relevant for himself. And then, of course, Gold Jet, they want to make sure that he kind of gets caught up as well. So it's the slow roll for the side of SFU, but now that the Rod of Ages is completed, and I believe one more wave in Pneumatic is going to be able to have his Blade of the Rune King completed. That could be a change in aggression.
Angel,
and as I
where
say that,
are you going? Gets a little bit caught out. Frozen Knight is also there. Chains of Corruption goes down, and Frozen Knight hops right into the tidal wave. Angel able to flash himself out of trouble. Frozen Knight trying to get onto the kill. Oh, BM Dragon, what a scumbag. He pushes Nami right into the Kazakhs, but Frozen Knight does go down, and now the Drake heading on over to the side of University of Toronto.
And Demnis walked all the way from the mid-tier inhibitor turret down to his tier 1 before deciding to teleport. That was such a delayed teleport that probably could have turned the tides of the match, considering how long it took Geesh to really get to that fight. And so now SFU is going to suffer. They're going to die to the kills. They're going to be able to lose the dragon. Granted, it is a Cloud Drake, but they lose the dragon, and that's a lot of pressure that they're putting in on this mid lane, potentially being able to actually take this down.
Demnis stepping up will clear out the minion wave, but that was more than 3/4 of the health of the tower in the mid lane. And probably not the best move there. Demnis, known for his teleport play, especially from last game, not the best usage as you touched upon, and forced to pay, and there's really nothing left on the map for them to get.
And you have to give a lot of credit where credit is due onto Gaogate, because he struggled a lot last game and really didn't have as much of the impact as we were expecting him to have with that very decisive Renekton pick that they had for the top lane. But instead now, he's making the plays. He's teleporting across the map. He's using that Stand United to be able to help out his team, and it's really helping and really assisting them at securing these decisions and actually being able to follow through with the shot calls that JJ and the rest of the team are making.
3-1 is the score right now, and even though the Drake and the couple kills went on over to the side of University of Toronto, the gold is pretty much bang even, 20.5 thousand for each team. I guess there's deficiencies in the top lane, actually just deficiencies all over the place in terms of CS, as we do have a interesting teleport coming in now.
It's going to be a party.
Oh, it's going to be a party at the bottom side of the map. Demnis trying to get himself down there, but will be held up by Geesh. But here comes Gold Jet. Oh, Chains of Corruption does miss. Tidal Wave does land. Flash over by Gold Jet. Airy very low. Not going to be able to live. Gold Jet does get the tower aggro off him, and it's going to be a smooth play by Simon Fraser.
And smooth, clean, and decisive. That's exactly what SFU did to push them to a victory in Game 1, and they show that now here in this valiant, just absolutely dominating pressure that they had here in the second set. And now not only are they going to pick up the kills in the tier 1 turret, but they decided to push for more. There is no rebuttal coming from the University of Toronto. They got the top turret, that's cool, but you lost 2 turrets in the bot lane, and that is extremely terrifying considering it's only 14 minutes, 40 seconds into the match, and Rift Herald is up and available.
Now, Gaogate is not on an AD champion, and Susai's doesn't have the damage to hit the tower as well, so I think the trade was the right call. It just took them such a long time to do it.
But look at what we see here. They committed to the trade. All right, we're going to lose 2 turrets in the bot lane, but now we're going to have the Rift. Now we're going to have the Rift Herald at our disposal. So here's an opportunity for University of Toronto to actually use that to their advantage and to push for more. The objective control and just tower demolishment that you saw from the side of Simon Fraser University definitely was kind of one of the deciding factors of how they were able to push forward. And now, with the opportunity to kind of turn that on its head with University of Toronto having this Rift Herald, could be something that we could see creating an interesting scenario from all sides.
So the clan making a great play here of Simon Fraser to just know how to trade objectives. The question is, how important will this Rift Herald be? We've talked about it in patch notes. We got to see it in the first set, I believe, by Ryerson. They ran down the mid lane and took two different towers. And now we have the Stand United coming out of Airy. Airy going to join the party, but it is a 3v3 right now. Talia still close by. Airy very isolated, in a little bit of trouble, but here comes the party. These guys must like it Mexican because it's a fiesta in the bot lane. There's one. Demnis able to pick it up. It's 2. He goes for it. The Cassidon is popping up. Jeesh trying to get himself out. It's 3 early on for Demnis. Down he finally goes. Susice able to get himself away. Will the Fang sink? No catfish on the plate. It's going to be a kill heading on over to Pneumatic.
Absolute catastrophe struck for University of Toronto because they tried everything they could. They sent the Stand United there. They sent all of the members down to kind of sit and help out. But it was a recognition of how much power Simon Fraser had at their disposal, and they did just that. It was KT Smurf on the Cassidon popping off in the first series. It's now Demnis saying, hey, you're not the only member that can play a Cassidon. And if they are somehow able to take away this 2-0 victory and put themselves in the grand final, there's definitely going to be such a contestant for the Cassidon in the pick fan phase.
Who would have guessed that? Cassidon being a contested pick.
Mid-season patch, that's all we got to say.
But what happened?
Actually, not really. It doesn't
didn't
really
do
change.
anything. It was just like, oh yeah, I'm going to play Cassidon. Sure.
I think a lot of it comes down to confidence levels. When you put yourself in a LAN situation with all of the external factors that take place, something that we were mentioning with the crowd, the lights, the uncomfortable situation, and just the environment that you're in, when you can put yourselves on as many comfortable endpoints of those variables, the better off you're going to be. And I think that Cassidon might actually be one of those comfort champions. KT Smurf, we've seen him play it a lot. That's definitely something that's in his repertoire. But now Demnis is kind of showing that he has it in his wheelhouse as well. 3-1-1. There goes the Rift Herald, but now what's going to happen?
Yeah, the Rift Herald has been popped. Gauge, I think, is just trying to zone them off of the flank. That gives a direct path for the Rift Herald to get on into the tower. He is low. Nice cocoon landing on a Frozen Knight. Frozen Knight able to get away. Gold Jet flashing in, not picking anything up. On the opposite side, Elise all alone. Susice goes down. Frozen Knight picks that one up. Gauge able to pick up a kill on the Gold Jet, but Demnis is not done. He is 3-1-2. He is pretty fed, and he's going to feast some more. The Ninja goes down. It's Gauge taking the death.
Telling them to back the heck off. This is our side of the map, and it's going to remain ours. Every effort that University of Toronto is putting on the board to really try and stop these efforts and really try to create their sense of proactivity is getting just absolutely demolished by SFU and their decision making, and that is revolving around the power that Demnis has in this Cassidon in the mid lane.
Demnis doing a solid showing here, 4-1-2. Taking charge, really. Gold Jet not being paid for, not forcing to pay for those mistakes he made early on, and instead his team helping him out get back into the game. Pneumatic, getting chopped away, getting devoured away. And that is the power of Tahm Kench to get those caught out of trouble. The only person that can help Tahm Kench in trouble is Tahm Kench himself. So Tahm Kench might be a priority target here in these fights.
It's definitely a priority target because they need to do everything they can to protect Pneumatic. Look at what he has, 2-0-6, the only member in the game to not have died, and the stellar positioning that he's providing is allowing them to not only win a lot of these fights, but force the members of University of Toronto to kind of back off. Nice little sidestep there from Frozen Knight, and I wanted to touch upon that jungler actually as well, because he has done a fantastic job, but oh no.
Hold on a second, Gold Jet with the great blast cone usage gets himself out into position. JJ now getting blocked up by his own team. Jeesh caught out, and and Jeesh goes down. Suicide's not able to sink the fangs. Yes, he is, but now Aries left all alone, and he has no air to breathe because he's dead. Now it's just Gauge all alone. The ninja goes down. It's another double kill heading on over to Demnis.
The snowball is running and the snowball is gaining as Demnis is now 6-1-3. And every member of SFU is making sure that there is an utmost level of coordination and communication in these fights. This is the second instance in a row now where we've essentially had two fights, two separate instances and multiple members in their own separate locations going back and forth. But yet SFU has not faltered. You see these slight little mouse movements coming out of University of Toronto going, uh-oh, which side do I need to commit? Which side do I need to prioritize? But that's not happening with SFU. They're saying, we're going to compartmentalize our decisions. We're going to make sure that every person is doing what they need to do, when they need to do it, but most importantly, where they need to do it. And as a result, they've got themselves a 7-kill, 8,000 gold lead here at the 20-minute, 45-second mark.
What's left on the map for University of Toronto to take? There's just a lot of pressure being put down by Simon Fraser University. And again, unfortunately, I hate calling this out, but we haven't seen the big plays we're used to seeing out of the mid lane for University of Toronto. Jeesh, not, I wouldn't say uncomfortable, but not masterful at these positions like he does on Assassins.
When you think about a mid laner and kind of what separates the good from the greats, you think about mid laners that have that versatility in going from Assassin to Mage, from Assassin to Mage, and being able to kind of pop themselves back and forth at will. Bjergsen, a great example at dominating on an Assassin when needed to, but can step back and play that support role when he needs. Jeesh is having a rough time because this has been two utility-style control mages that he's had to play now for both of these games, and he's not able to show that aggressive, powerful play style that we're used to seeing from him. And so as a result, it's putting them in a deficit, and it's not really allowing him to really flex his muscles the way that we've seen him do in past times.
Yeah, very reminiscent of 2015 Faker when he allowed Wolf and Bang to carry the team to victory to the World Championships. Not calling, Jeesh Faker yet or calling Demnis Faker yet, but an example for our viewers to follow as Suicide's getting caught out yet again. Demnis going in and says, forget being a utility mid laner, I'm going to blow you up immediately. The Spider gets squished.
The Spider is dead, and that's going to be an opportunity to potentially go for the Baron here. They have the teleport on Goldjet. He's pushing through. He's got the Tiamat to be able to hard push the waves against Gauge, but Gauge with his team out of his own is able to do something here. And just look, Jeesh just doesn't have the damage. He's so far behind Demnis right now. Because of the power that Demnis was able to acquire, that forced that first by Banshee's Veil onto Jeesh, and so he's just not able to really show off that damage and show off that power that a Talia with those extra items is able to control. And now U of T, backs against the wall. They're down a lot. There's a lot of ground to cover if they have any chance of coming back.
Yeah, and that's the big question. Building Banshee's Veil first, obviously it brings a lot of defensive items. It gives you the spell barrier. It now gives you more AP, but was it worth it? Because Jeesh is just kind of, it's almost like his spells are like auto attacks and not really dealing the amount of damage that it needs to be dealt.
So a little bit of a slower setup now. We're not seeing as much aggression or kills that what we saw in previous times. Both of these teams kind of setting up for their sieges. I love this decision to go for this 1-3-1 now. This is what their composition was built around, but it required Demnis to get ahead. And now that that objective has been completed, it all revolves around that execution. Demnis knows, all right, there's only one attack left on that turret. We're gonna have to wait just a little bit more. Blue turret does go down, so tier 2 in the top side is done and completed, which could push those minions up a little bit further and give the space that Simon Fraser University wants to be able to potentially take that Baron.
And again, looking at the mini-map, the bottom right part of your screen, you can see how far up the red players and the red wards are for the side of Simon Fraser. It just makes it very difficult for University of Toronto to look for a play, to find a play, to pick up items, as we do see. Oh no, caught out is the AD carry. Airy gets taken down. JJ using the tidal wave. Jeesh trying to get himself some damage, but not going to find anything. Gauge not able to help out his team. The Nami does find a kill, but it's a 2-for-1.
The members of University of Toronto are not only struggling as a team, but as individuals, they're getting themselves caught out. They're not recognizing where multiple members are, and Simon Fraser is just capitalizing upon that. When you look at Simon Fraser's success and the way that they've been able to become the best in the West, it's through this not only knowledge of the enemy team, what they're trying to do, but it's more of a capitalization of their mistakes. And that's what Simon Fraser has been building this lead upon. And the fact that you have, a 4-0 and 980 carry and a 7-1 and 4, it's obviously a helpful factor. But more or less, it's just been their decision-making in understanding how to capitalize on the mistakes that Toronto has been just time and time again completing.
And to that point, Pneumatic has played the same champion twice and is the capitalizer of said mistakes with the chains of corruption. He's the initiator. He, like you said last game, has been doing a great job of deciding, do I hold on to my spell to use it defensively or do I use it aggressively to punish mistakes? And he's done a great job in both games.
And that's what we were worried about, actually. One of our opening comments into this was, he's really their only form of engage. And so they're going to have to make sure to pick their fights wisely. And now, him and the rest of the SFU squad kind of recognizing that that's something that they need to do, he's been able to do just that. But the second that he pushes himself up and uses that chain of corruption, then he's immediately pushing himself back to the back line and positioning himself in a lot of the ways to kind of go off in a different area. As now...
Tidal Wave does force a flash out of Pneumatic, so there's one. The wall being thrown down, Weaver's wall, not really being used too much out of Jish. I guess it did separate him from the Tom Kench, but either way, a lot of engage tools are now down on the side of University of Toronto, and they're still looking for a pick.
So Simon Fraser has slowed their roll a lot more. They're not going for these engages. They're not going for these battles. And just as I say that...
Oh, Suicide's forced to repel up, barely out of the range of the blue buff, and Demnis going to take that kill as well. He's unstoppable. Here comes the flank Areno. Goldjet wants to get in there. First class gonna help out with Demnis as well. Jish and Airy left alone. Jajel able to eat up the mid laner. Down he goes. Airy able to pop off a little bit. It's a couple kills heading on over, but now it's just Gauge against Frozen Knight and Jajel. Not going to be too much damage going down between those two. Goldjet was able to get himself out, is back in base, does have teleport if they want to go in. Here comes the Devour. And Gauge just going to walk himself out of trouble. Look at that tank, but again, where's the damage coming out of University of Toronto?
There just isn't. There's such a deficit in items, there's such a deficit in power spikes that University of Toronto just isn't able to really do much of anything at this point in time. 0, 3, and 7 for G. She's getting assists. He's participating in the team fights, but it's not these game-changing efforts that we're wanting to see and that we need to see from a control mage such as Talia.
So with the gold lead continuing to grow here, we're now at 11,000 gold. What's the way back for University of Toronto? This is their last game. They've got to pull something out with these champions to force a game 3, if at all possible. How do you see them working their way back in?
I think it's twofold. I think that, one, Jish needs to understand his role a little bit better as a control. In these team fights, he's kind of going for kills and trying to use his displacement to kind of help that make out. But he needs to be able to control the fights a little bit better and redirect the resources of Simon Fraser to something a little bit different. On the flip side, though, while he's controlling that, and if he's able to do that successfully, it has to come down to Airy to prioritize a lot of those topics.
Airy's done a solid job for a Fed Cassidon on him, but no, yet again, will he be able to live through it? No, he's not. Stand united, fall divided, down goes Airy, and now Suicide yet again gets squished in his own jungle. He's got to understand, his jungle's not his jungle anymore. Simon Fraser have put up sold signs all over it, and they're called wards, and it's been just deadly to the Spider. And now Simon Fraser turning their sights onto Baron. Look at it melt down. It's very quick, and it's theirs.
Yeah, there's no way in anything that the members of University of Toronto can really contest that. And so now, with all 5 members going there, but the teleport coming down now, so Cassidy's going to be joining the fray soon.
Oh, look at the damage coming down. Jeesh, not too close. He goes down immediately. That one gets turned around, and Deptness helping out. Goldjet picks that one up. It's just Gauge, and oh man, his heart goes out to UOT. They're trying to go ahead and find something, and they can't find anything. They're blinder than Lee Sin, and it's going to be one more kill. Gauge very low. Dennis ends up stepping on a trap, gets caught out, and a little bit of Mayabon getting a little too cocky. It's 2 kills heading on over to Suicide's, but the party's going. Look at Frozen Knight. He's a little sneaky little guy, isn't he? He's going in the bug. not able to find any target because the fish ends up devouring what was there. Flash away by Susai's going to keep him alive for just a little bit longer, but the sights turn on to the base.
And this is why Simon Fraser University is the #1 team in the West for ULaw right now, because not only do they turn what was a deficit in the 3v1 collapse down onto Goldjet, but the rest of the team followed. They teleported the Cassidy. The other 3 members are moving down to help support their team. They're not only able to pick up those kills off a beautiful rotation, but they're also able to secure themselves 2 inhibitors. And at 30 minutes into the match, that's a huge advantage and almost an unovercomable object that University of Toronto is facing in the wayside.
The immovable object, indeed. The inhibitors have finally cracked, and now Suicide's probably about to get pincered here. Ooh, right in the booty. He's still alive. Able to walk away for a little bit longer, and Suicide does make the great escape, but at what cost? That cost is 2 inhibitors and probably the opportunity for his team to come back.
16,000 gold separate University of Toronto and Simon Fraser University. If you want to talk about a rock in the road, well, this, my friend, is a boulder, because it is not something that's going to be moved very easily. Such a deficit on every point, every crossroad that you see. University of Toronto, to their effect, has tried to make efforts. You've seen some aggressive plays and some proactivity from Gauge. You saw some early pressure from Susi's, but it just wasn't followed up by their carries. Jish and Eri haven't been able to really shoulder the weight through these team fights, and as a result, with a 0.47 and a 2.77 stat line, they just don't have the capacity to really do anything and turn the tides of any point in time in these team fights.
No tides being turned at all. JJ not able to turn it for anybody. Had a much more solid game, impactful game on the Thresh last time. Demnis able to just go ahead and work his way in and out. And there's no response from the University of Toronto as Super Minions are starting to push into their base. The final march begins onto the top lane by Simon Fraser University. And they're slowly but surely squeezing the life out of University of Toronto.
And this is where textbook League of Legends comes into play. 2 inhibitors are down, so let's focus our resources on the top and let the Super Minions do the rest. Add the Baron empowerment to it, and they're going to be pushing, but here goes the all-in.
There goes all-in on to Goldjet, and immediately Suicides goes down. The Zonia's being popped by Demnis. Frozen Knight goes unstoppable. JJ able to walk himself out. Aries still untouched a little bit, but either way, Demnis just does whatever he pleases, like the Dr. Mundo. Aries does get exhausted. There's 1 tower, there's 2 towers. JJ wants it, but maybe a little bit too much. But Super Minions are now pouring into the base. Flash forward, but JJ able to keep his 80 carry alive for a little bit longer, but not enough. That's going to be the GG's. There's all the kills. It's the ace, and it's the game for Simon Fraser University.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That was the strategy they came in with game 2, and the decisive efforts by every member of Simon Fraser University has propelled them to a victory, a very overwhelming victory in game 1, an even better, much more comprehensive victory here in game 2, and they're going to be in the finals, a rematch of University of British Columbia.
That's right, the UBC team was knocked out by Simon Fraser in the round of 8, very, very close 2-1 fight, and we're going to have a rematch here in the Canadian Invitational presented by the Collegiate Star League. But both these teams, just great matches, but UOT didn't seem like they ever got going.
And I can't stress this enough, Cassidy. If you could put a staple on both of these matches, it was what Cassidy was able to do in both sets.
Right.
UBC, KT Smurf was rocking it off the mark. Now you have Demnis picking it up here in game 2, rocking it off the mark. And so now you put yourself in a situation of all of your pick ban strategies, everything that you were writing down and looking at if you were UBC, that's going to get changed now that you know that your opponent can actually play that Cassidy, and KT Smurf isn't the only one that's going to want to prioritize that in the champ select.
Right, and one of the big things as well in this matchup, they didn't play many champions, so you don't know what the champion pool is. They kind of stuck to the same team composition, riding the wave of Pneumatic's decision-making of Chains of Corruption, and it did a great job deciding whether to go in and whether not to go in. But for that, we're going to take a quick break before we get in to the finals here at the Scotiabank Theatre in Toronto, Ontario. When we come back, we're going to have the grand finals of the Canadian Invitational. It's going to be University of British Columbia against Simon Fraser University. Don't touch that browser.